The work of the B'nai B'rith International president runs the gamut of time for our people. There are days on the job when one feels like Moses trying to gain the trust and respect of God's children at Sinai, or like Noah building an ark to save the earth's creatures, or Theodore Herzl cobbling together a homeland for Zion-loving dreamers, or like David Ben-Gurion physically resettling a Jewish state, or like any Israeli prime minister working to secure the nation's security. You see, the success and strength of a B'nai B'rith president is measured in at least two important ways. One, by how well and quickly one responds to crises, and two, by how well one wins followers through bold, creative, and innovative initiatives. Yes, we meet with and present concerns to presidents and prime ministers, secretaries and directors general, foreign ministers and ambassadors. And while the meetings are memorable and often important, sometimes even historic, you may be surprised to know that these meetings are not what we do best. What we really do best still is our work at the grassroots. This is still where we make the most impact. During the past 3 years, we have faced more than at any time since World War II, unprecedented levels of anti-Semitism in the world, including in the United States. 1 week after our last triennial meeting, we endured Pittsburgh, then Poway, and attacks in various metropolitan areas of the United States. And just last month in my own city of Austin, Texas. In fact, just this morning, as I found a leaflet, an anti-Semitic leaflet at the end of my driveway. Anti-Semitism today cannot and must not be identified with partisan politics. It no longer comes from one side of the political spectrum. As anti-Semitism attaches itself to Israel, we know that as a community, we must publicly acknowledge that anti-Semitism comes from extremists on the right and the left and from Islamists. How Jewish organizations respond to and address anti-Semitism, I'm sad to say, is not as defined as it once was and should be. Collectively, American Jewry has convinced itself that believing in every social cause is the Jewish thing to do. So when anti-Semitism or anti-Zionism bubbles up, our community stands at a crossroads of its own Jewish identity. I worry about the next generation of Jews who evaluate and identify their allegiance to Israel on a political level only. It often shows how dispassionate they are about their own religion, which is intertwined with the Jewish homeland. These people are well on their way to becoming the lost tribe, because if they publicly exhibit the courage to defend Israel or wear a Star of David or jewelry depicting the state of Israel, they fear that they may find themselves as outcasts by friends based on politics. People who have difficulty standing with Israel when its security and sovereignty are threatened must be awakened by an understanding of their faith. Similarly, people who allow the Holocaust to be categorized merely as another genocide or a human rights violation must refocus on the actual unvarnished history. In the face of vast vocal opposition, too many in our communities are becoming what are known as whispering Jews. Instead of expressing outrage, we are protesting through kindness. Fortunately, and in response to this phenomenon, a generation of very proud and vocal Jews is beginning to react to passivity by standing up for themselves. Now, B'nai B'rith International joins them every hour of every day in boldly and resoundingly standing up for ourselves. In addition to celebrating righteous Gentiles, the B'nai B'rith World Center in Jerusalem celebrates Jews who rescued Jews during the Nazi era. We also celebrate the more than 1.5 million Jews around the world who fought for freedom in World War II by sharing profiles of soldiers at the new World War II Military Museum in Yablun. The Lost Tribe believes that we win supporters by joining other causes. And while these efforts are important and noble, I must caution you that as we lose remaining survivors, witnesses of the Holocaust, we must protect the next generation of Jews and the general public from growing ignorant. So while our people are off repairing the world, applying the concept tikkun olam, we must not allow our own world to fall into disrepair. These are very serious times. Defending others without defending ourselves will lead to disaster. We must stand together. Now, for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Jews who stand with B'nai B'rith around the world, what is the meaning of standing together? In the past 3 years, standing together has meant convening our leadership in such heritage cities as Lisbon, Portugal, and forging meaningful relations with Jews there and in Porto, where Jews suffered or survived. Standing together meant protesting anti-Israel demonstrations on college campuses, taking our outrage directly to college presidents and school district boards, to whom our enemies use lies and revisionism to make their case against Israel. Standing together meant challenging German museums and BDS advocates who demonize Jews and question the legitimacy of Israel. Standing together meant persuading 38 countries to boycott the 20th anniversary of the hate fest known as the Durban Conference. Standing together meant news organizations quoting B'nai B'rith first in news coverage of major issues. Standing together meant the formation of a global women's professional organization, a young leaders group in Europe, and rebranding B'nai B'rith Connect. It meant coming to the defense of communities who asked for our help, defending a lodge in the Ukraine, or coming to the rescue of a community in Tennessee, reactivating lodges in California, Mexico City, or delivering 27,000 COVID-19 face shields in Italy. It meant creating multiple news products, electronic magazines, redesigned websites, and topically focused Facebook pages, so we could share our story farther and wider. We took all of these actions, not to mention helping and maintaining the dignity of 5,000 residents in our senior housing units in 28 cities around the world. This last 3 years have been a period of growth and development for our organization, something we hadn't been able to promote for a long, long time. I'm proud of these real achievements. And more importantly, you should be proud too. We met challenges at the Alst Festival in Belgium by influencing UNESCO to remove its endorsing designation from that annual event. UNESCO officials just recently approved B'nai B'rith to create and organize an exhibition and conference regarding the Hebrew language. 3 years ago, I said there would be little honor if the time passed without executing an ambitious plan with real measurable outcomes. I challenged you in my first speech to do more, not less. And as an organization during the past 3 years, we did more, as promised, much more. Our work with the American Jewish International Relations Institute advanced from a relationship to a partnership. Ajiri is now Ajiri BBI, and its impact in our advocacy work for Israel in Congress and at the United Nations is becoming increasingly prominent. Even in the face of getting slammed by COVID-19, we reprioritized our activity, boosted online programming, and actually connected with hundreds of thousands of people in the name of B'nai B'rith. We've not reached so many people since the heyday of B'nai B'rith, when the field of Jewish organizations was far narrower than it is today. We used the COVID period to further streamline and modernize and update our operations so that going forward, we could be more efficient and effective. We also updated our Constitution under the leadership of Rob Spitzer to reflect today's B'nai B'rith. And I'm proud to say we did something very inclusive something that opened doors to family and extended family. We created an affiliation called Friends of B'nai B'rith. It's not a new idea, but one whose acceptance was necessary. Its time had come. I urge you to share this news with family and friends and others who may have felt on the outside looking in. Now, the door is wide open. From these actions, our voice and visibility have brought us increased credibility and, importantly, new major donors and greater audience than in decades. Whether you are a longtime B'nai B'rith member, a new member, or someone visiting us for the first time at this leadership forum, this prestigious organization is most worthy of your intention and long-term investment. You belong here. During the past 3 years, we learned quickly that we can get more mileage out of other sources than racking up mileage from international travel. Oh yes, we traveled, but we made our travel really count. Our groundbreaking mission to China and Japan is just one example. Then to Portugal, Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. A mission to the UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia is being planned right now for the spring, COVID willing. During COVID, with masks and repeated testing, we returned to Porto, Athens, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem. We met the new Israeli administration and the old. We traveled to many more countries via Zoom to conduct our business without spending countless hours in airports and on airplanes. In fact, in the context of a new Middle East improved by the Abraham Accords, our message resonated with even greater impact. The United Nations is listening, and even votes are shifting in a positive direction. The witnessing of the signing of the Abraham Accords is a milestone that made us all proud. History will prove that countries normalizing relations with Israel absolutely changed the world. That history represents real hope for the future, even though it boosts the hate and violence from our enemies. Once again, our adversaries are deaf, dumb, and blind to what should be an opportunity. Even for Palestinians, the Abraham Accords may become the latest opportunity to miss an opportunity. The new administration of B'nai B'rith now has momentum. As I said earlier this morning to our new administration and our new president, Seth Ricklin, the wind is at your backs. Lodges and units are reactivating, even forming. Build on that. At-large donations and Friends affiliations are increasing. Build on that. From Canada to Portugal, Brazil, and Panama, B'nai B'rith is building and rebuilding. There is still so much potential in the United States. Build on that as well. This job cannot be done without sacrificing and really giving it your full attention. I've been asked, did you like being president of B'nai B'rith International? Well, I loved it. It is easier to like, however, if you're doing the work that must be done to advance the organization's mission. I have a great sense of pride and a feeling of accomplishment, knowing that we've done our best. And we did so by standing up with laser focus for Israel and Jews around the world, particularly when we were under attack. I've already had a chance to thank officers, B'nai B'rith staff, and we'll have a chance to thank my wife, Vani, a real woman of valor, and my family who took pride in sharing this experience with me. I truly wish my parents had been able to accompany me on this journey. But in fact, in a way, I feel they really were with me daily by instilling in me a love for Judaism, Israel, the power of the Shema, and allowing me to fulfill the fifth commandment. Finally, I want to thank you, all of you, for giving me this extraordinary opportunity, witnessing history and meeting so many extraordinary individuals in the world. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine his light upon you and bestow on you, your families, and all of Israel, a world of peace. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yamru, amen.